Hello, and welcome to this time to both learn about and to experience some spiritual practices that can be so life-giving and have been to so many through the ages, especially in times of struggle and tension and when anxiety just seems to be floating in the air around us. It is important for us to be more intentional about matters of faith. So over the next few weeks, each Monday and Friday in this series, we're going to introduce a new spiritual practice and then give you some time to experience it. This series comes out of an event in December called Held Together. It was led by Pastor Michelle, by Jen Moix, by Gemma Elms, and their teachings in that event were recorded and are now offered in this series. Some of the spiritual practices include centering prayer, musico divina, where music is used to help connect us to God, visio divina, where visual arts are used in this same way, journaling, the labyrinth, and some others. Our prayer for this series is that you will truly be given time to find grace and guidance during these challenging times. Many blessings.
Today is journaling. That is our spiritual discipline. You have some prompts here that I'll talk about in a minute. Everybody's got a Bible, a youth Bible at that, since we're in the youth room, and then a pen for you to use. You are, of course, welcome to use your own pen or whatever. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the discipline of journaling and then share some about my journals, and then we'll talk through the prompts, and we'll practice this tonight. There are a lot of reasons to journal, and for me, a lot of times it's journaling around Scripture. The point is to find some way of connecting to God. So if it's not a prayer that you need to journal, if there's another thing, so I've actually assembled some different ways of journaling. And we'll talk through those, and I want you to just pick one of them, whichever one seems to be something that resonates with you. But I am not disciplined about journaling. This is where my marking really comes out. This is a hard discipline for me to have. I don't have the discipline, in fact. But what I do have are a lot of journals around me at all times, so that if I get struck by something, then I have the space to do it. And so really I have before me 4 journals. This one is brand new and was just used this weekend or this past week, and I've decided it's going to be a sermon journal. Never had a sermon journal before, but I now have a way that I write sermons that really works for me, and so I've decided to write my sermons in that way in this journal, which I think looks a lot like a Bible. So, if you're up in front of people, they might think you're looking at a Bible when in fact it is actually a journal. So it's got the first one that I'm preaching this year, which will be on the 17th of January, journaled into it. So that's got that purpose. I have written poetry since I was probably born, basically. Poetry's been part of my family's language. That was a discipline that I did, like I said, I literally remember the very first poem that I wrote on a swing set. So I have done it since a small child. And then it died for 20 years. I did not write a poem for 20 years. Did some recovery of my voice over the past couple of years and filled an entire book. And so this is the part 2. So this one is around Escape the Ordinary. That's my poetry journal, so I have this. This one is new. I got it today. This was my gift to me. And I like this one. I don't know what this one's going to be yet, but it has lines and it has dots, and it has blank pages. So I feel like this one's going to be just flexible. Like, who knows what's happening? And then I've always wanted to be, there were some little black ones back there. I've always wanted to be the kind of person that carried one with them all the time and could like scratch little notes when you have moments of genius, right? Except I'm not that, I'm not that organized. I can't do it. But I did discover that I always have my phone with me. And the phone has a notes section. So I actually have taken that on. And I have written entire blogs in the notes section. I have written poems in the notes section. I have written grocery lists in the notes section, right? But this is now my portable journal. And so sometimes what I write in here gets translated into then one of these others. But it is handy and available to me wherever I am. So I show you these examples to just say that when you do this discipline, you might try multiple types of journals, and you might just recognize that it's a discipline that for some people they can be very regular about, and for some it's a season, it's a moment, it's a space. But kind of making something available to yourself to have it gives you the capacity for it, right? So I'm going to talk through the prompts. Some of these were ones that I pulled from various places online, and some of them were ones that I just thought, I've tried some of this stuff in the past, so I've shared that with y'all. So the basic approach to journaling is the stream of consciousness approach, which is that you give yourself a certain amount of time to journal, and you write whatever comes to your head as fast as you can. No editing. You don't worry about punctuation. You don't worry about spelling. You just write whatever is in your head. Just get it out as fast as it comes. And then they tell you to set the pen down and set it down. And then come back to it at some later time and read it and see what was revealed in what you read. And I actually say, before you start that reading, pray to be open to whatever God is leading you to, right? And you'll be surprised sometimes at what you wrote in that stream of consciousness. Literally, sometimes you may be mid-sentence and change complete directions mid-sentence. So that's a practice that you can do. One is to do a scripture paraphrase, and that is to either rewrite scripture in your own words or use the words of scripture to inspire a journal entry or a poem, right? And I gave some scriptures that you might want to work with. One is Psalm 11. It's a fairly short psalm, so that was why it would be worked with tonight. Romans 8, which you don't have to do the whole chapter, but maybe pick some verses, and Philippians 4. Just some passages that might resonate with you, and you can, like I said, rewrite it. And don't feel weird about that, right? Like, don't feel like you're violating Scripture. Scripture is meant to be a space of interaction, of engagement, of conversation. And when we rewrite something in our own words, it becomes more real to us. And that's what God wants out of this Bible, is not to be bound in by it, but to be invited into it. So allow that to be an invitation. Another approach, and this is actually Ignatian imagination approach, but written, is to imagine that you're a character in Scripture and write how you would feel from that character's perspective. And frequently with this exercise, we encourage people to take on a character that maybe is not explicitly even named in the passage, but is observing the passage. It's also instructive, and this is the one that's hard for people to do, to pretend you're Jesus in the passage. It's really, people don't want to do that. But imagine what it would be like to imagine this from Jesus' perspective. So I gave two options. One would be the passage from John 4, which is the woman at the well and Jesus. So you could imagine yourself from Jesus' perspective, from the woman at the well, from the disciples, or from the people of the town. Or you could do the Syrophoenician woman in Mark and imagine yourself again, either from Jesus' perspective, from the woman's perspective, from the woman's daughter's perspective, from the disciples, or the owner of the house where Jesus is trying to rest. The owner of the house doesn't show up, but the house is in there. Somebody owns that house. Like, what would that be like? Then number 4 is to just write a letter to God, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Dear God, and just start writing a letter, right? There you go. Okay. Number 5, this is a prayer discipline one. Write out a list of people you want or need to pray for, and then write a prayer for one of those people. And then number 6 is to read a passage of Scripture and then write about it. This is more general. Write about what about that passage inspired you. Just what did you learn? What was that moment? That sort of thing.